Gnashish, a kliko haskingadani egi, ach da kanuku achto kuch, Ushya wudene. A kliko haskingadani egi is all of my ancestor spirits in the past are all Tlingit. Ach da kanuku achto kuch means at one time we were all one people. Ushya wudene. Wush is all of us. Ya awudene is respect above all else. So we learn to respect each other and to respect ourselves. My name is Kawuja Zain. I'm Hitsaati of the Koots Hit Angoon Duck. I have 4 names. There's Kajik Kahina, eagle in pursuit over the water. Kudenaha, how a bear stands up in the den and looks around. And Kajik, Kawuda Zain, is how a bear looks coming out of the den. We have the hat Kawuda Zain. I have the hat with me and at home. But we're going to elaborate on the bomb in Angoon, October 23rd, 26, 1882. At the time of the Angoon bombing, my grandfather, who has 3 names, Angoon, Nahuwu, and Ayak. Nahuwu is forever crying raven. Nahuwu is forever dead raven. Yeshwanox is forever crying raven. That's the fourth. That's the 4th name that I carry, Yeshwanox. But Billy Jones carries La'an Gushu. La'an Gushu means people without a country, people without anything. And Nahu is forever dead raven. And we were accused of a crime that we never committed. Traditionally in our land, when someone dies of statue, and this was a shaman that died shooting off the whale gun, it exploded in his face and killed him. There were a couple deaths before that. They were just lowly names, so we didn't pursue it. We left it alone, even when we went and asked for compensation. But when we went back for the shaman, that was a different story. There was a amount of young men there that took it to heart that the shaman was theirs. So they confiscated the whaleboat. And the whaleboat was ransom. And what they didn't understand, the U.S. Navy, is that ransom is paid when the death happened. Eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. We always got payment back for death. And during the bombing of Angoon, they pillaged the village enough to where they took artifacts and they destroyed dry goods and everything else, and they sunk the canoes. My understanding is they wrapped the canoes in chains and they sunk them in front of Angoon to show their power. And this was how this all started. We demanded 800 blankets for the death of the shaman. We only started off at 80. And the captain of the U.S. Navy, he went up to 800. So we matched that. When the 800 was not complied in the morning by us natives, they started their bombing rigorously. And the Marines stormed the beach and they robbed the houses. And everything else was done. They killed 3 children. The 3 children they killed were from the Ducklawady double fin house. I don't remember their names, but they're there. And so this brings the ransom or the bounty up to a lot more than 800 blankets when the 3 children are killed. We pursued this fact, and today this still goes unresolved. Today it's still not settled. Today we have never had a letter coming back acknowledging that this is their mistake. We've had the United States Coast Guard step forward in the past, but they're not the United States Navy, and we hold grudges against the United States Navy. It's not up to the Coast Guard to pay their bills. It's up to the United States Navy to pay their bills. So with that thought in mind, what we think of the bombing of Angoon still lays heavily on our mind. You know, the story behind Yates Winnock's forever crying raven, as he came home to his family and they were all dead from a disease. And they gave him this name because his family was all ravens. And the raven Yates Winnock's is a raven name, but it belongs to the Tequadi. I am a Tequadi. I'm the head of the Tequadi house, like I said earlier. And our migration stories come out of Cape Edgecombe. Cape Edgecombe was a big part of where we were. There was 5 volcanoes surrounding Cape Edgecombe. And at the time when we got there, they were all subsiding. There was rocks flying out of the mountain, out of Cape Edgecombe. These rocks were the size of, some were the size of a canoe. When they hit the water, it would make the sound. So we didn't have a name for that. We made a name up and we called it Slaat. Slaat is the oldest Tequadi name we have. When we went to Cape Edgecombe, there were 4 canoes in the Gulf of Alaska. There's the brown bears in it. And if you ever see the robes in Yakutat, they have a robe with 2 bears walking away. In Angoon, we have a robe with 2 bears walking toward each other. This is how we tie ourselves in with Yakutat. Yakutat, all the way down to Yes Bay. Tequadi is Tequadi, brown bear. No more, no less. We call this Ha-Shahani. Ha-Shahani means total domination, total ownership, no questions asked. When we say Ha-Shahani Kluk, Yudu Wasagu, Tequadi Ayakat, Tequadi Ani, Tequadi Haletsini Aya Hakustiti. This is our land, and we have ownership to it, complete ownership, no ifs, ands, or buts. In the 1982 celebration, my uncle was standing up there and he explained why they had Cape Edgecombe on back of my auntie's robe. And we claimed ownership to that. Ownership, saying Ha-Shahani, you might as well not argue because it's written in mud, it's written in blood, it's an unwritten rule that we all go by, just by the definition of Ha-Shahani. And Ha-Shahani ties in with the migration story when the four canoes were sitting in the Gulf of Alaska and they seen this rock fly out of the Cape Edgecombe, which was 50 miles away, 150 miles away. They don't know how far away they were, but it lit up the sky, and they wanted to go there. So 2 of the canoes decided to go to Sitka, and 2 of the canoes decided to continue on up to Dry Bay, Yakutat. And with them they went to the Shungu KD, the Ganach KD, and the Shli Nadi. They are all with them in the canoe. When you sit in a canoe, you don't sit by your parents in the old days. You sat by your grandparents. You sat by your aunt and your uncle, the one that raised you. Because in our culture, we raise our nephews and nieces as aunts and uncles. In our culture, the grandmothers have the last say. So there's a lot of things that go with why we went to Cape Edgecombe. But the 2 that went away from them carried the robe of 2 brown bears walking toward each other. And the 2 that went to Yakutat have the brown bears parting from each other, walking away. They're walking back to their people to take Kwedi, and we're walking back to them. And that means that we're all tied together. So when we're tied together like that, we settled in Cape Edgecombe, and these blankets, how old they were commissioned and recommissioned and redone and done again. The ones that you see now are replicas. The old ones, nobody knows what happened to them. They could have been up in the bombing of Angoon. Because at the time of the bombing of Angoon, we were in Hannes Bay to take Kwedi. We're all in Hannes Bay. And if you know the geography of Sitka Sound, Huna Sound, and the surrounding areas of Sitka, in order to go to Angoon, the United States Navy's got to go past Hannes Bay. They left us alone and they just went straight to Angoon and started their bombing. And we were in Hannes Bay. We have proof that we're in Hannes Bay. I have an old Mother Bear hat that was in Hannes Bay at the wedding. The beaver prow that they repatriated was on the head of this canoe, the only canoe that survived. When they went back, they only had 2 canoes, and there's the one that went over with the eagles and one that went over with the ravens. When they went back to Angoon, that's what kept our people alive. We lost people along the way from starvation and the cold, but we survived the bombing of Angoon. And we still stand on the grounds that there's an unresolved issue and needs to be resolved within the tribal status of the Hitsa Atis, abiding by the wishes of the Tequadis, or the Kagwantans, or all the other people that were involved, Shli Nadi. The Shli Nadi are my Dakanuku. Dakanuku means as far back as you can reach. You grab something, you pull it out. It's Shli Nadi, a Dakanuku. That's your most outer shell. That's the most precious part of your being, Tlingit human being. In the times of Cape Edgecombe, going back and forth here, Cape Edgecombe was a big tie-in with this, because at the time of Sitka, when we landed there in Cape Edgecombe, we went to Bluestone Cove. We settled in Bluestone Cove and Klook on Cape Edgecombe Island. There's a cove in there that has nothing but blue rocks on it, all the way down inside there. What do you call it? The bay. there's blue rocks. And those rocks were pounded down by the logs hitting the shoreline. Shaman wrote a song, it's Cape Edgecombe song, and I know the words and I know the song, but I don't have any equipment to do it with it. I'd have to dig up the words because it's been so long since I sang it. But Cape Edgecombe's Bluestone Cove, when he created that song, he was sitting inside the Bluestone Cove on a full moon night, and you can hear the logs hitting the shoreline coming down, and the waves wash alongside the beach. They run like you're going to surf on them. And these logs are all surfing into the beach and it's pounding on these rocks, and they made this distinct sound. And the song that carries Cape Edgecombe starts off boom, 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 and it continues on. Cape Edgecombe, Hannes Bay, Cape Edgecombe. When we settled in Cape Edgecombe, I'm getting ahead of myself. The 5 active volcanoes that were subsiding there had ash blowout. And that's what created Sitka today, Sitka Sound. If you go down to the beach in Sitka, there's molten rock on the beach. There's molten rock everywhere. There's ash everywhere. You dig down 10 feet in Sitka, and I dug in construction in Sitka. We dug down 18 feet and nothing but ash until we hit solid ground. So a lot of this history that ties in with all of this is collaborated by the findings of today's people. What we have and what we strive for is to carry the next generation coming in with knowledge about the bombing of Angoon, Kluk, Bluestone Cove, what the names mean, Kajik Kahina, eagle in pursuit over the water. You know, Yesh forever crying raven. They all have stories. Just like when you have a drum and you get a drum made, you got to put a story in there so that drum becomes powerful every day that you sing on it. And that's what it was for us. We sang every day, and we followed the people that went north to Yakutat, up into Atalio River and so forth. The Tequati settled there. When the Tequati settled in Cape Yakataga, they were going with their Shungukati grandfathers and grandmothers and Shli Nadi. They settled in Dry Bay. And when you go to Dry Bay and you see thunder and lightning, it's only happening in Dry Bay. It's not happening any place else along the shore. So that's what makes it unique when you say, Akta Kanuku Aktu Cook. At one time we were all one people. We all seen the same thing. We all knew the same history, the same language. And we fought to keep this. We go along with my status as a Hitsati for Coots Hit. I wasn't given this position, I was born into it. My bloodline runs back as far as 1886, October 26th, or 26th, when my grandfather was at the bombing of Angoon. That's my true grandfather, Nahuwu. Nahuwu, they had children. One was named, what's her name? Cow, depending on how you speak English. Cow is K-A-W apostrophe or K-A-X, cow. Ka was a woman of the Raven Bones house. She married my uncle, Nahubu. That's how our ties are so intertwined with the Bauman, with Angoon. I can walk into Angoon, and because I'm the grandchild to Nahubu, the Deshkitan, and I'm the great-grandchild of the Shli Nadi, my Dakanuku, I can go in there and pretty much get what I want just by being a grandchild. Being a grandchild is a great blessing for everybody. When we put on our atu, we don't dress our own selves up, we dress up our grandchildren. That shows the strength and the power of each child. And it says, oh, you're your grandchild to Kouja Sain, or Kachik Kahina, you know, or you're the grandchild to Nahubu, because we all tie in. So there's a lot of places that we have come, along with the migration of the Tequedi. When the Tequedi first settled, we were at the mouth of the Nass River. And the man that lived there, his name was Nas Ka. Ha Shaheni Nas Ka Yiduwasagu. We had full ownership to this name, Nas Ka. Just like we have full ownership to Kats, to Yet Wanachs. That's all tied into our history, and we can claim that. There's so much more to just being Tlingit. We learned our songs back. I got the privilege of teaching some kids just a couple days ago that blew me out of the water. I know this is off the beaten path, but these kids know Tlingit. I can hear it in their voice. I can hear it in the song I'm teaching them. And the song I'm teaching them, they pick up right away. And I teach them about Ha Shaheni, about Bushya Wudine. All of us need to respect one another as oneself. This is for future generations. Bushya Wudine is where you want to stand on your everyday stance. Because you learn to respect yourself before you learn to respect others. And that's what we're asking when we say Bushya Wudine. There's many other sayings that go along with this and many stories, but I'm concentrating on the Tequedi's migration. When we come out of the head of the Nass, we were tricked into giving away all our treasures to our grandchild. That's what I mean when you dress up your grandchildren. You're showing more power. When your grandchild cries for something, you give it to them because that's your grandchild. And that's how the raven became the keeper of the sun and the stars and the moon and the rivers and the tributaries. Was he tricked the old man. He never stole land, he never stole anything. He tricked the old man into believing that he was a grandchild. And he took what he wanted, because grandchildren are that way, they get what they want from grandpa and grandma. So a lot of that settlement that we have there falls into place there. To speak Tlingit is now becoming something of the present. I could see it all around me now. And this is what we were looking for, and this is what we're striving for, is to enhance our vocabulary, enhance our history. Because once we settled out of the head of the Nass, we settled at the mouth of the river. And our camp was called Junach. Junach is a place of dreams. You close your eyes, you're in Junach. Place of dreams was sitting there, and we were at Tequedi at the time. We became brown bears when we went to Yes Bay. When we went to Yes Bay, 3 brothers were hunting for bears and game. And they came across this cave with a big male bear in front of it. And they tried to get the bear to come out of the den, and he threw one of them into the den, whose name was Kotz. And Kotz, his hand landed where it shouldn't have landed, and the she-bear liked it. So she enchanted him with the belief that he was at home with his wife. And she made him see these things. He'd wake up in the morning, he'd look around, everything's normal. He's at home, his wife. They have 2 children together. And these 2 children are half bear and half Tlingit. And they call it Shuk Ka Stuk. Solid ribcage like a man, hard to kill. Shuk Ka Stuk goes along with the reason why we are different from others, why the bears are bears. Why Tequedi and Yes Bay and a Tequedi and Yakutat and a Tequedi and Sitka and a Tequedi and Ketchikan, they're all Tequedi. They're not Yakutat Tequedi, they're not Sitka Tequedi, they're Tequedi. You have to become Tequedi before you become a bear. And if you carry a bear's name, you're a Tequedi. You're not, because you settled in Sitka, you're not Sitka Tequedi. Tequedi Akta Kanuku Akta Cook. At one time we were all one. That's what it means. For the Tequedi, that's what it meant for us. We lived in these times. Hard times of bombing of Angoon, bombing of Cake. Other history that was not told, the migration. The migration was told year after year till it was forgotten. People died with it. And that's one of my steps in a forward manner toward the future is to teach the children manners and how it is to be Tlingit. And teach the children that are coming manners and how it is to be Tlingit. We are all one people. When they say whoosh ya woodene, whoosh is all of us, not just a woodene, one person. So a lot of this history that comes with this Tequedi is coming back because I'm not going to die with it. This is my way of telling them. This is for future use, for the future generations. To know that when you're saying Tlingit words like Wushya Wudene, Achtawasigu and Yaktisani, I'm so happy to see you, most honorable people. Akliko Hasklingitani Yeki. All of my grandfather's people are Tlingit in the past. All of these quips and quirps can be passed on to the future. Not just goodness cheese and take nusk. This can all be tied in as one. When you teach children to speak Tlingit in the Tlingit way, it's like teaching them English in the English way. You don't define every word you say, you just use the words. And by your actions and by what they see is what they believe.